We had Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Freddie Couples, Kevin Kisner, Dewey,
Joey LaCava.
Joel Damon.
Max Homa.
It's an unbelievable video.
Who's the little guy from Subpar? Colt Knost. That was honestly, I didn't mean to say that mean because I couldn't think of his name.
Bro, that's about as mean as you can describe someone.
Listen,
who's that widow guy from Subpar?
I knew it would get a laugh out of you guys, and he knows I'm allowed to say that to him, but I really couldn't think of his name because my brain is fucking...
Foreplay brought to you by Barstool Sports, presented by our very awesome, excellent EV and EUV specialist partner, Chevrolet. This will be a New Year's episode, so this will be our final episode before the end of the year. We've got a great interview with Aaron Wise. We're doing the future thing, which we're not great at historically, where we are recording this on December 20th, 2022, but it's coming out on December 27th, 2022. So if we slip up
until next year, after this,
right? This is the one. That's
When this comes out, I will be on an island.
Yeah, are you talking about that?
I don't know.
I'll be on the same island.
I haven't really talked about it.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Maui.
With who?
Me.
We're gonna hang out though, Trent.
Oh shit, Dan Rappaport's gonna be there.
We are gonna hang out, but I will say
you're not gonna see.
We're playing golf. No, we're playing golf.
Dan,
are you
playing
golf?
Dan Rappaport?
This might be the biggest white flag, red flag that's going on right now. If you think that Trent Ryan is playing golf with you in Hawaii during
7 in the morning one day, are you?
If you're gonna bail,
crazy?
He's not gonna answer.
If you're gonna
you.
bail, do it now. If you're gonna bail, do it now because it is like across the island. So if you're gonna bail. You got a free get out of jail.
Dude.
No, won't hold it against you. But if you're gonna bail, please do it now.
You're not golfing with Dan Rappaport in Hawaii. You know you're not.
I want to say a couple things.
This incredible move, by the way, going to Maui by yourself.
This is the first real vacation I've taken since having this job. I've been here coming up on 9 years, and I just. A lot of it, I want to be by myself. That's kind of why I'm going by myself. I've told a few people like, oh, this is what I'm doing over Christmas. And they're like, oh, that's great. Who are you going with? And when I just say me, the reactions are they're stunned. But what it comes down to, and this is the dead honest truth, I'm going with the person I like to spend the most time with. And that's yours truly. So, Dan, about golf.
Just do it. Say no.
Just pull the plug, dude. Just pull the plug.
No way.
It's easier right now.
Because just do it. Just do it.
Texting you and shit.
It's a little early for me.
All right, so you're out.
You're gonna be going that night before. It's gonna be.
Were you planning on just not showing up?
Getting ready to fire on another movie, and you're gonna.
He was planning on not. Dan, he was planning on just not.
No, I would
up.
never. I would not do that. I'm flaky, but I'm not that flaky. Is it gonna be a problem if I bail?
No, I told you honestly that you can bail, but you got to do it now.
I'm out.
Don't make him do it now.
All right.
I appreciate the offer, but again, I'm just going to just hang out.
I totally understand.
I don't do well with plans. If I did well with plans, I'd be taking people with me. But I just,
we're playing. Just for the record, everybody, we're playing Kapalua Plantation Course 1 week before the PGA Tour event. So it's not like we were just gonna go play like a local uni. But
I'd shoot 150 there.
Just
Trent's
saying,
out,
that's
dude. He is.
Trent's out. It's out. I actually feel strangely a weight off my shoulders. So
I'm happy for Trent, man. I was feeling
He was
weight on
never
his
going to
shoulders.
that round of golf, dude. Ever.
Looming round of golf with Dan Rappaport that he just doesn't want to.
And my dad.
And my dad. Go. It's like he doesn't want to go to that.
All
more
respect
than he wants
to the
Rappaports.
He just wasn't.
I want to be clear that I appreciate the offer, and it clearly schedule wise it would have worked because holy shit, who would have thought we'd both be on Maui at the same time to play golf together? But it's coming at a time where I just want to do nothing, which is a lot of the time, but I'm going to be specifically in Hawaii doing nothing.
I like that Dan Rappaport's going to be in Hawaii, and we're all like, yeah, of course he is, like, whatever. And Trent's going to Hawaii, and we're like, what?
Yeah. What are you going to do for dinner?
Hawaii.
That's going to be the weirdest part because one of my inspirations for this solo trip is...
Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
No. Is Noah from Chicks in the Office, because Noah he's done a solo trip. I think he went to Costa Rica, And he said it's great. You know, you get to do whatever you want all the time. He did say the one weird part is dinner.
Super awkward.
Because I got to go to these places by myself, which I'm comfortable with.
Go to the bar.
Yeah, I'll just go to the bar or whatever, but I'll figure it out when I get there.
You're not going to a resort, right? Because that's legit forgetting Sarah Marshall. If you have to show up to like the resort dinners where it's like you have to make a reservation, it's all part of the package.
You're gonna see the
and like
same
you're sitting
couple
down there like,
every
oh,
night.
table for one, and you're like,
Trent's going to be a B character in White Lotus season 3.
Like like Jonah Hill. You're just like, I'll go fuck myself.
Yeah, no, it's not. There's not going to be like resort dinners.
No, so you get to make your own decisions for dinner. You could choose to just eat wherever you want.
It's going to be an interesting experiment. I've never done something like this. I'm pretty pumped about it, if we're being honest.
It's going to be exciting.
Totally.
I think I'm doing it the way that I want to do it, so that's gonna work out in the end for me, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna have a bad time. You're going to Maui.
I know, yeah. It's gonna be good.
You're gonna have a fucking amazing time. New year, new you coming up. There's gonna be a lot of resolutions. Resolution, is that right? New Year's resolution. Yeah, that's right. Right in line with that should be an EV. You should put that puppy on your radar. You should put that, have that come across your desk. We're having it come across your desk right now. EVs are for everyone everywhere nowadays, and that's because Chevy is doing it so well. And they're not just doing it with electric vehicles. They're doing it by taking their classic lines of vehicles, cars, trucks, SUVs, sedans that you've known to come and love, and they are now offering them in the EV and EUV variety, which is phenomenal.
That's correct. The best lineup you can possibly imagine, American made. Man, they're just paving the way for the future. We say every day we wake up, we're closer to that end game of the future. Like, when are we going to be there? And Chevy's just propelling us there.
They're affordable. You don't have to be rich to have an EV. They've got the Bolt EV and the Bolt EUV, which we had on the T-Box at the Barstool Classic Championship. You can go buy those now. You can reserve now the Blazer EV and the Silverado EV. That's their established full-line brand of Chevrolets. We can offer multiple EV vehicles with the volume, the variety, and the value customers all over this planet have come to expect. Chevy EVs for everyone, everywhere. I got a couple announcements. One, we got a couple videos this week. So even though, Barstool Sports is pretty much closed, a lot of the world shut down, people are on vacation, our editors don't stop. We got Breaking 90 coming out tonight. That's
Holy
Tuesday,
shit.
the 27th of December. And this is an attempt from Trent Ryan after spending a few days grinding down in Georgia with our guy Tillery and with Frank Borelli.
Does it end? Is this how the year ends? Does it end tonight? What a way to cap off 2022. Now, I'm not gonna. It's impossible to promote Breaking 90. We say this all the time. People say I blow my load too early all the time, but it's impossible. Like, I think someone came up to me. Who came up to me recently and was like, you only get one of those like must watches? Who was that? Francis? Francis was mad at the fact that I said tonight's a must watch Breaking 90. This was a couple weeks ago. He's like, because now I'm getting excited. I'm so invested in Breaking 90 that when you said that, I cleared my schedule. I sat down and I watched him attempt Breaking 90 thinking he was going to do it. And he didn't. I said, well, Francis, like, that's number one, a tease. And number two, like, you can't say if he did it or didn't do it, because then that's going to ruin the whole series. You have to say, like, all right, tonight's a big night. You don't know.
It's really the only show like it in that respect.
Right.
Like, you don't watch a Netflix show thinking like, oh, I don't know how many episodes this is. It could end tonight. Like, even on a show like Survivor or The Bachelor, everything has to play out, and there's never an episode where this could be the end. So it's a tough thing to promote in that way.
So at this point, you've seen, if you're listening to this, last night's incredible premiere of the tease for Breaking 90 tonight.
Yep.
We had a list of, I would say, the most important, influential people in golf, all wishing Trent well wishes and good luck on his attempt tonight to break 90. We had Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Freddie Couples, Kevin Kisner, Dewey,
Joey LaCava,
Joel
Damon,
Max Homa.
It's an unbelievable video.
Who's the little guy from Subpar? Colt Knost. That was honestly, I didn't mean to say that mean because I couldn't think of his name.
Bro, that's about as mean as you can describe someone.
Listen,
who's that widow guy from Subpar?
I knew it would get a laugh out of you guys, and he knows that I'm allowed to say that to him, but I really couldn't think of his name because my brain is fucking whatever.
It's a crazy video.
It's an insane video. All of these guys. Justin Thomas, legitimately, I'm like, hey, man, I'm going out with Trent right now. We're about to break 90, try and break 90. Do you mind, like, saying good luck to him? I'm trying to make this funny video really quick. And he messaged me back within a second, goes, dude, absolutely. And he sent, his video alone was like a minute and a half saying, like, if I caddied for you today, I could definitely, like, maneuver you around the golf course. We would shoot 85, no problem. But today it's all on you, Trent. Just take your time, hit your shot. I'm like, dude, I'm watching this on my phone being like, that's Justin Thomas saying this.
I remember when
what the fuck?
So you show it to me, and the first face I saw was Colin Morikawa. And I was like, what's going on right now?
Looking clean, too, if I remember.
Oh,
He, like,
best
straight out
quality
of
of
a
the whole
haircut.
video.
Right, it was
like
probably
straight out
like,
of a haircut.
Like the morning of his wedding, he looked so good.
I bet I asked a bunch of guys. Obviously, Danny was huge for that. Riggs got a lot of guys. Brock Nelson, American Hero, is in there. He's just like swing smooth, slow as smooth, smooth as fast. At the end of the day, I wanted to get as many people in our universe that we could get, and it's a lot, and the video's long. So I was like, fuck, these guys really all went in on it.
Robbie Berger
went in on it. It's an amazing video. And then I remember I asked Harry Higgs, and he saw it too late. And he was like, dude, can I please send in this video? And I just, like, haven't gotten back to him saying, like, oh, you missed the boat. But his would have been great, too. Everyone wants Trent to break 90. It's such an amazing time to be alive. The fact that this guy out here is about to attempt this attempt, and you have all these people in the PGA Tour. I mean, Freddie Couples was like, you got to do this. You have to break 90.
Insane.
That is a big one.
I mean, that's like the biggest name that we've had associated with our podcast in a long time. I mean, it's Freddie
I was
Couples.
stunned when he popped up.
Freddie fucking Couples. So that's tonight. What time are we doing that? 8 o'clock? We got to do a big premiere for this, no? 8 o'clock? I like the 8 o'clock Tuesday night ones. I think those are good.
Yeah.
8 o'clock
like
will
that.
send us into the new year. Trent Ryan. We're down there with JT again. Some of the big moments that happen in there. I'm just thinking back. Fuck. It's just a good video. It's a good video.
Watch that tonight, and then we've got Aaron Wise on this show. He's going to be the whole second half of the show. And then I got to announce a couple winners. So I have winners from Cyber Monday, Black Friday, which we did 3-night stay at the Pinehurst House is one of them. And then I'm going to bring foursome out at Greyhawk. If we can't set up Greyhawk because of proximity, then we'll do somewhere equally as awesome, closer to the person, but it'll be totally up to them. So my two winners are Black Friday. We got Scott Hutchinson from Illinois. We're going to contact you. And from the Cyber Monday, which is the Greyhawk round, we got Sean Doyle, who's from Massachusetts. So if they're coming out to Arizona the next year or two, we could set the whole thing up. If they want to come out specifically for this, we'll set it up. And then obviously Scott will set it up with your crew where you go stay at the Pinehurst House 3 nights. Have a great time. I'll help you set up as much golf as I can. Thank you to everybody who buys merchandise. The amount of merchandise that we sling, that we sell, that we see all over the world is fucking crazy. It's nuts that we started this thing basically 6 years ago in the back of a studio in the main office, just trying not to get yelled at by Dave and doing it at like 10 o'clock at night, to the point now where we're selling as much merchandise and slinging all the items that we are. And that's because all the people that are out there listening and buying stuff. So we appreciate the hell out of you. It's like the least that we could possibly do is come up with some of these items and prizes where you get to stay at our house or have dinner with us or play golf with us. That's so easy. We like to play golf. So Sean Doyle, Massachusetts, that's our Greyhawk round winner. And then Scott Hutchinson, Illinois, that's our Pinehurst winner.
Awesome.
My guy who I sent that fucking bag to never thanked me, so why even do it?
That's not very nice.
I'm
No
just
social
kidding.
points?
No, it's just
No
like,
social
come
points.
on, dude. I want at least a message that you got it.
Yeah.
He was so excited to get it, and now I'm thinking, did I send it to the wrong place?
Are you sure he got
Are you
it?
sure that it was delivered?
I
Yeah.
don't know. I just dropped it off at a place, spent a ton of money to give it to him.
I think it's still. I think it still could happen. I don't think
Okay.
he's gotten it
I'm
yet.
hoping. That's exciting stuff. I like giving away things. I do, but
Yep.
I like the
Me too.
response more. Like the guy who got the wedge was like, "Dude, this is the greatest wedge I've ever got. Thank you so much," and that got me hard.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, we've got Big Cedar Lodge Travel Series starts right up. So YouTube channel is not slowing down from the break of 90 tonight until right into Thursday night. Boom, Big Cedar Lodge Travel Series.
Holy shit.
We're just right back at it. So we're just ripping right through this
also
whole fucking thing.
And we're rolling right into 23. We got a bunch of huge things planned.
What date is that?
I'm really fired up for what's coming,
December 29th
guys.
that's going to come out? Big Cedar?
That's right.
I think that's the best travel series we've ever done. We've gone
I
to...
do too.
Just because of like the camaraderie and like, I don't know. I mean, we already tweeted about it. So Lurch comes back. It's like everything about it just felt very much like a good trip. Obviously, the Scotland series is the best like videos we've ever done. If you haven't watched those yet, you're insane. The videography, the cinematography, everything that Brendan and his team have done is insane. We've done every single one of them has been good, but this one just felt different.
It's a good location, man.
I loved Big Cedar.
You love Paynes Valley a lot.
I loved where we stayed. I loved looking over the fucking waterfall. I loved the fact
think
that
Big Cedar's gonna blow people away. Like
should.
people know about Bandon, people know about Scotland, and it's still really cool to see it. Totally. I think people like the reason we too were like the camaraderie, Lurch returning after all the drama and the hilarity was great. Dan and Lurch being in there together was great. We did alternate shot one round, which is incredible.
In that sense,
I think like being shocked by Big Cedar Lodge was a huge part of it. Like the whole thing was just fucking amazing. What that topography looks like, that part of the world looks like. We did water skiing. We tried to get Frankie water skiing.
I forgot about that.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
We went tubing, dude. There's all-time tubing clips. Like this was just a great all-around travel series.
Yeah, it is. We definitely had more. It was just more fun. It was just different. That place is fun. That place is
a playground.
It's a playground. It's not just golf.
Yeah, and those golf courses too. Paynes Valley and Ozarks National was incredible also. I thought that was just as good as Paynes Valley. So just 3 bangers.
I know. Phenomenal.
What are we starting?
Spot,
the first episode is probably our weakest one. What is it? Just like Top of the Rock, which is still an incredible par 3 course. So like, watch that for
big bounce back round for Riggs. Big bounce.
That
back
was a
round.
huge bounce back. That is worth the watch.
The whole trip.
That's worth the watch.
Myrtle Beach. I came in wanting to play well. And it's really cool visuals, par 3, and we get into it. So anyways, Thursday night, Big Cedar Lodge. Tuesday night, Breaking 90. We got Aaron Wise, who's never been on the show, coming up next. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Thank you for listening, following the entire year. It's been awesome. We're not going to bog you down with a recap or let's go through the whole deal. We did a good amount of that with Kyle Porter, who was great. And we're just going to slingshot our asses right into 2023. So be safe, be smart, enjoy your new year. We'll be back next week. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Working out, getting exercise, working on that body, Peloton. That's what we're talking about here. I don't think anyone on the show has really fully all in committed on the Peloton up to this point. Like we probably should have. Is that correct?
We have one in our building. We have one in our building. I use it like once a week, twice a week,
Frankie?
maybe.
Yeah, I have a Peloton. It's been a love-hate relationship, but that has nothing to do with the actual mechanics of the bike. I love it when I use it. I hate it when I just look at it, and sometimes it becomes like a clothes hanger. But I will tell you this, that when I am using it, I feel incredible. I'm a big like music person. Like every time I do things, I need to be listening to music. So the fact that I would find my specific categories, whether it be like the rock rides or like an R&B ride, or they would be as specific as a Foo Fighters ride. You can literally just type in Foo Fighters and they know that like the Pretender's coming in on your like second leg of this of this journey, and you're just like, wow, I am absolutely going to be going balls to the wall when that song comes out. It's an amazing piece of technology. I mean, it looks great in my house. I love it. I think it's a fantastic piece of machinery.
The instructors, right? People are crazy about their specific instructors that they get through the Peloton. You can get all the different classes through the screen and all that. Is that right?
It depends on whatever you like to look at.
Allie Love. There's Emma's one of my personal favorites that shares the name with my fiance. Yeah, it's one of those things where every time I do it, I am like, why don't I do this every single day? My life would be so much better if I started every morning with a Peloton
class. Who's the other guy?
class.
Cody Bigsby? Is that the other guy?
Cody's one of the guys. Alex Toussaint and Justin Thomas are boys.
Interesting.
So there's like, there's these like communities that
Brock
build
Nelson
online.
Brock Nelson will send me like his stats, and he's like top 100 out of 60,000 riders,
which checks
which
out.
is
Which
just
checks out.
fucking insane.
He's just ripping.
I remember his
professional
wife said,
athlete.
We had a bet that if I ever beat his wife in a race that or a ride that we both did on the same one, that she would get him like a golf simulator. And he's like, will you do this for me? And I was like, I'll try. And she never even came close. Couldn't beat her. way too good.
Yep.
Output was like 1,000. I'm like, what's happening right now?
Try Peloton worry-free with a 30-day home trial. New members only, not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial. So that's onepeloton.com/home-trial. Go check them out. Anyone I know who uses this puppy frequently just raves about it, how great it is for you. So I'm going to get on the Peloton train. I haven't really done that yet. That's on me. That's going to be part of my resolution. But go check it out. Phenomenal machine. Those that do use it rave about it. All right, folks. We're joined for the very first time. PGA Tour winner Aaron Wise. I'm going to start. We were just talking a little bit about Japan. I'm going to start and quiz you. Do you know your current official world golf ranking?
34th. Last time I checked.
Went down to 33rd this week, actually.
Wow, new best, new PR. I love it. I feel like the weeks I don't play, I keep moving up. So that might be my new strategy.
How much do you check that? I mean, because obviously, if there was a world ranking of golf bloggers, I think that it would be my homepage on my computer.
Yeah, I feel like I check it often if I've played like the week before to see kind of where I've moved after I've played. On off weeks, I don't check it a whole lot.
So I looked it up. There's about 8 billion people on the planet. There's about 70 million people that play golf, and you're the 33rd best out of all of them. Does that feel kind of crazy?
It does, yeah. When you put it that way, it's pretty nuts.
Because, man, I know Dan too, we play a good amount of golf with some pretty good players. Most people suck, but you play golf with some pretty good players. Corn Ferry Tour, people that have qualified for U.S. Opens, and they're really, really, really good. And they're nowhere near as good as you are at this game. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, no, it's pretty nuts. And I feel like when you play your home course, it's hard to tell a lot of really good players apart, right? But when you get out there and you set it up for a PGA Tour event or whatever, it makes a big difference.
So I got to ask you about the college football playoff. I was going through a couple of your tweets, and I noticed that you're not a huge fan of OSU making it in over Alabama. Is that correct?
No, yeah. I just
as an Oregon guy, why do you feel strongly about that?
I was surprised that, yeah.
Not necessarily an Oregon guy, more just a college football fan. I feel like if you truly ask anyone right now who could beat Georgia, I think there's only one real answer, and to me, it's Alabama's the only other team with the same kind of athletes on it that could match up. And I get there are two losses, but both their losses were on the road. They were both the top 10 teams in the country, and they were both on final plays of the game. So I feel like leaving them out's a little unfair. Obviously, I don't feel like OSU doesn't deserve a shot either because, they only had one loss to Michigan. I feel like that conference is tough to tell because really there was only two good teams and they played each other once. The Penn State wasn't quite as good this year. Some of the other teams that are normally a little better weren't quite as good. So that conference is tricky, but I'm a huge fan of the expanded playoffs for college football. I think going to more teams will be way better. I think with four, there's always kind of one team where you're like, well, if they were in, they might have had a shot to win, and at least that'll get rid of that.
Yeah, our producer who's behind the scenes right now is jerking himself off basically because he's a huge Alabama guy, and so having you just go to bat for him right now, he's pretty pumped. I was loving it because I'm scrolling through your Twitter account. It's promo and excited to play here, and then just a handful of tweets being if Alabama doesn't get in over Ohio State.
A few weeks ago I saw once Ohio State lost, which to me was a horrible loss at home. Got blown out, wasn't much of the game.
Mm-hmm.
To me, after that loss and then the rankings came out and they were ranked above Bama, you could just tell what was happening. And I was just a little bit frustrated by it because I feel like, Alabama lost two games by a combined 4 points with both being on the road and Ohio State got thumped at home.
Yeah, it is. I think you make a good point because it seems like more of everyone wants to use the criteria of like, did their resume earn it and not just who's the best team. I think,
but I get that because
Nick
otherwise,
Saban's
just put Alabama against Georgia to start the year. Why don't we just look at who's got the best roster? You know,
no, that's true. That's true.
I wanted to ask you about when you do tweet that, when you fire those tweets off, because obviously the other tweets are, I would imagine that's a conversation with management, right? You're like, let's tweet this. Is your agent calling you like, dude, stop being a crazy college football fan online, or do they let you have free reign?
No, I have free reign over all social media, kind of everything I post. And it's one of those things, when you post it, you're going to get blowback, right? Or just feedback in general of other people's opinions. And I definitely think before I post something, am I going to welcome that? And especially in the college football world, I feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to take their comments and then give them counterpoints and try, just have a good conversation about it is really all I'm trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's the world we live in. So, yeah, you're definitely going to get it gets the juices going. You see some people replying and disagreeing, and you're sitting in like an Uber, you're sitting on your couch, and you're like, look at this idiot who thinks, it's like, it's just,
it's
going.
No one's right or wrong. It's just all your personal thoughts. And I love to just kind of hear different opinions and whatnot. Like a great example was everyone was like, well, you're not giving USC a chance. And I'm looking at USC's final schedule of they had to play UCLA still. They had to play the Pac-12 championship game. I'm like, I just don't see a Pac-12 team winning out. Like there was too many top heavy teams in the Pac-12 for someone to get out this year, in my opinion.
So if you could, we talked about how good you are at the game of golf, which I'm sure we'll talk about more. We're talking a lot about football. If you could be just as good at any other sport on earth as you are at the game of golf, which sport would it be?
Football. No doubt.
You just QB?
Yeah, I would love to be the QB of a team. I think that would be awesome. I mean, you're in control of everything. I would love the side of like pumping people up, managing the game, like all that I would love. So I think if I could pick any, it'd be football, but uh, my body doesn't quite put me in that realm.
You did have a pretty epic college experience, though. And I want to talk about this a little bit. You went to Oregon. You guys won the Natty at Eugene Country Club while you were at Oregon.
Yeah.
Was it the kind of thing where you were a legend on campus? Because I know when I went to school, no one cared. I went to Northwestern. No one cared at all about the athletes. Like they couldn't. Being an athlete actually probably made you less cool. When you were at Oregon, especially
athletes or just golfers?
Maybe just golfers, but kind of all athletes. It just like wasn't really a thing. Were you like a legend, or did people not really care?
I feel like the athletics at Oregon is a big thing. Like you do get treated a little bit special there because you are an athlete. So along my whole ride, you definitely get special treatment here or there, but especially, I mean, I left after we won both team and individual that year, but I still had all my friends on the team. So I went back for the next couple years to see them hang out, whatever. And a lot of the bars were big like golf fans, so then you get treated nicely there. And it definitely made a huge difference on campus once we won that, just because so many of the fans were out there, so many of the students were out there as fans, like for the championship. So they got a big insight into all that, and it was pretty cool.
And were you planning on turning pro all along after that year, or was it the kind of thing where you won the national championship as a team, you won the national championship as an individual? It's like, what else are we going to do here?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. No, the plan was to turn pro the whole time. I came back from winter break my sophomore year, and I had just played a tournament in Australia called the Masters of the Yams, and I was the favorite going in. I felt a bunch of pressure to do it, and I ended up winning the tournament. And that just something about that tournament kind of clicked my brain into like, all right, I think I can do this at the next level. And I came back and talked to my coach Casey about it, and was able to secure enough funding from deals like with Callaway right out of college and stuff that I had the money to turn pro and not worry about kind of financials. So at that point, I was all in either way. But the icing on the cake was definitely winning both team and individual there to end it.
We Eugene and Oregon in general, sneaky big golf state. We were there last year. We did the whole Bandon thing, and then we were driving on our way out of town, and we just kind of happened upon campus, football stadium, the whole, you see in the giant O, and we got the chills, and we didn't even get inside the stadium because I think they were practicing, so you're not allowed to go in there, film, whatever. But we looked at even like the baseball field, seeing the football stadium. Oregon's kind of got the juice when it comes to just general college athletics. I feel like you must have. I mean, was that a big, obviously, like your background and everything? Was that a big part of the reason you wanted to go to Oregon?
100%. You can just tell that when you're there, like athletic means a lot to them. Like we were talking about, it's not the same at Northwestern, but at Oregon, it's everything. And I think, I mean, I didn't know why at the time, but looking back, like they don't really have a football team there. They have the Portland Trailblazers for basketball, but that's about it. Like University of Oregon is a lot of their athletics for the state. Like that's what people pay attention to because they don't really have that many pro teams. So I think that's why they're so huge there. But like you said, I mean, you see Autzen Stadium, and it's just everything about it's incredible.
Sick.
Really you said your coach Casey Martin. He's kind of a legendary guy in golf. Obviously, very famous for the lawsuit with the PGA Tour. I don't know if you saw Tiger last week. Kind of out of nowhere was like, "Oh yeah, Casey, I voted against that. I didn't think he should be able to do it."
I did see that.
How much was planned for him and his background and his relationship with? I mean, I got to think he's one of the cooler college coaches you could possibly have.
100%. He was one of the main reasons I went there, apart from everything else Oregon brings. But I could tell that, I mean, I wasn't the most highly ranked kid out of high school because I didn't have the money to go play all the big tournaments. So I played a lot of like local Southern California stuff and
Toyota Tour Cup, huh?
I used to play Toyota Tour Cup. And then luckily I played really well it was one of like the world championships, which was at Torrey Pines down in San Diego. And that's kind of where he recognized me. But on my visit, you could just kind of tell that he really valued me wanting to be on the team and valued who I was as a golfer and said, I know you haven't accomplished all these big things, but I see how well you're playing in all these events and how consistent it is. And he truly, you could tell, believed that I was going to help his program, which is not something I necessarily got from a lot of the other coaches. So that part was really cool. But playing for him, I feel like it just developed kind of like you see what he's going through and you see how he handles certain situations. And he's one of the most mentally tough people you can ever surround yourself with. And I think just spending 2 years around that and, Oregon's not known for having the best weather, but to force us to practice through it. And, it created somewhat of an edge in me where I feel like I'm mentally tougher than I was when I went in there because I went through it all.
Yeah. Southern California breeds softies. You gotta go out and get some hair on your chest.
Big time. It's been a handful of years now out on tour. Who's kind of your crew? Who's your clique that you hang out with?
I moved down to Jupiter 2 years ago, so that's gotten me in with a lot of the guys down here, like Ricky Brooks. I hang out a lot with like Denny McCarthy and Max Grazerman, who's on the Corn Ferry Tour. So there's a good group of guys down here that, translates out there too. But out there, it's so individual and you're kind of on your own schedule a lot. It's hard. I feel like I know a lot of people and I'm friends with a lot of people, but I wouldn't say I necessarily have that many like best friends out there just because you're so busy trying to, practice and prepare and get ready for the tournament.
You switched. Go ahead. Sorry, Riggs.
You're saying you got to keep them at arm's length a little bit too. Those guys are trying to take your paycheck, pal.
I agree, but it's always fun to play with guys like Harold Varner was a perfect example back when I got to play with him a bunch. And I remember I played the final round of the PGA Championship with him at Kiowa, and it was just, we both played well. It was such an enjoyable experience. So it's nice to be friends with people and to get the good chemistry going. I think you see better scores when you have that.
Last time I saw Harold Varner III, he had 2 beers in his hand at the President's Cup and was trying to get across one of the rope lines because obviously he was already at Live, so he wasn't like invited to be there, didn't have any special privilege. And he literally was like, "Oh, Riggs, what's up?" And I was like, "HV3, what's going on?" He's like, "I'm just waiting to get across." And he was literally just having a couple beers waiting to get across. So
yeah, he's awesome. He's one of my favorite guys in the world.
You switched to the broomstick. Are you still using the long putter?
Still am, yeah.
What was the process like for that switch, and was it hard for you as a 25 or 26-year-old guy to make that jump?
It was an interesting story. I used it so way back when I first went to college. I was playing really well, but missed a lot of short putts, and Casey, being my coach, was like, "Look, I've struggled with the same thing. I've found that this putter helped, being the long putter, helped me with some of the stuff that I've dealt with." And so I tried it, I think, right after the winter break of my freshman year, and I won my first college tournament with it. I think we shot like 40 under par as a team. We broke so many records that week. It was in Hawaii, and then I putted with it probably for another month and a half. And then I started putting bad with it, and I went back to the short putter, and I putted good with the short putter. So I stuck with that forever. And then a year and a half, 2 years ago, whenever I switched to the long putter, I was again struggling with short putter, forgot all about the long putter because I hadn't used it in 5-6 years. And one day I just woke up and it clicked in my brain. I'm like, well, I could go back to trying that. So I got it. Obviously, the anchoring band was in, cut it down, I think 3 inches, and went back to putting with it. And the first day with my putting coach on the green, he was like, "You've never putted with that before?" I'm like, "Well, I putted with it for a month like 5 years ago, but no, I've never putted with it before." He's like, "It looks way better. Like my speed control was instantly better. Short putting, the ball was starting more online." So I was like, he was like, "Well, let's give it a shot. Like it can't hurt." And put it in right before the playoffs, not this season, but the season before, and putted great, made it to the week before Eastlake, and then just kind of kept rolling with it. And it's really been working well. Honestly, the funny part is part of the reason why I didn't like it was because it was anchored. I felt like the wrist movement was really weird with it being anchored onto your like the follow through. The wrist had to like bend weird, and now that it's off my chest, I feel like I don't have to do that at all. It's actually way more comfortable. I actually prefer the feeling unanchored, which is pretty funny because I think if it was anchored, I would switch away from it again. But because I don't have to anchor it and I tried it, I love it even more.
Well, that's funny because, whenever people see someone using the long putter, they're like, is that anchored? Is that anchored? Well, it's definitely not anchored because you're saying that you putt better with it not anchored.
Yeah, no, I don't want it anchored. Like people are always like, oh, is it anchored? Or like you'll get the jokes on the green or whatever. I'm like, I don't want it anchored. Like it feels way better non-anchored to me. So
it also sounds like something
that someone who's anchoring
it would probably say.
Fair enough.
Who's like the biggest champion of the broomstick is Adam Scott? That's like our
probably
hero
Bernhard Langer would be the most wins, but Adam's up there too. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he anchors it low key.
Wow, that's spicy.
Oh yeah, I would say. I mean, I think most
are pretty close
on that.
Yeah,
keeps it pretty. How many broomstick putters do you have? How many do you own?
I probably have like 30 now. Mine is the original one that I got from Casey. It's 15 years old, and I've tried since I switched to it in the last 2 years. I've tried like 20, 25, 30 putters to beat it out to something a little prettier that looks nicer, and I just can't beat it. So I'm sticking with it.
Do you bring a bunch of them on the road?
No, I only travel with that one. I'll try them all when I'm home, but pretty much with what I've competed with, I haven't really changed aside from the driver in at least 2 or 3 years. Been the same clubs.
You don't have a club deal situation?
No, I don't.
And yeah, that's always something I'm curious about because it's no secret that more guys are kind of going that way as the equipment money is probably not the same as it was, and with the purses so high.
Exactly. Yeah.
A couple $100,000 deal from a club manufacturer, if you feel like that's going to make you play worse, it's probably not worth the money. What was your thought process like for going in that free agency route?
Yeah, it's tough. It's exactly like you said. Part of it is the fact that the companies aren't quite putting out the money they used to. And then part of it's the fact that we're playing for so much more money than we ever have to where, a stroke when you're up near the top of the leaderboard is worth exponentially more than it used to be. So it's tough. For me, I'm a guy who likes to experiment, as weird as that sounds. Like I like to try everything and then I'll put nothing in play. I'm the guy everyone, all the club people hate because I'm like, send me stuff, send me more. I want to try it.
Never use it.
And then I show up with what I had before. But I like testing and knowing that what I have in the bag is the best stuff for me. So for me to have a club deal, I feel like you get locked into only that company and say you're not hitting the 3-wood as well and you're locked in with TaylorMade. I feel like it would be awkward to then go test other club stuff because that would be against your contract. So then I'm stuck in well, I'm not hitting the 3-wood good and I don't know if it's me or if it's not me or if it's the club or if it's not the club. Where now, if I'm not hitting my 3-wood good, I go try 10 other companies. And if I hit all those bad too, then I know it's me. So I can go ahead and, get to the problem quicker. So that's kind of what I like about it. I've always been so just because I'm a free agent doesn't mean I don't want to try things. Like I try everything. I just like to be able to pick what I like the best to put in play.
If your New Year's goals are to manage your budget better and to save money, you need Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, one of the apps that we downloaded on our phone that we went the craziest for when we first got this puppy going, because it really, really, really does help you. It's a personal finance app. Finds and cancels your unwanted subscription, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills all in one place. It can be overwhelming, the amount of things that you've hooked your credit card, your debit cards up to over the last 5, 10, 15 years of your life, all the different streaming services that came to be, the different things you've clicked on throughout your trials and tribulations on the internet that you've just ended up with a subscription, or that you've agreed to this, or you've decided to do a premium and upgrade version of that. And then you mix all that in with the food that you're buying or the takeout or the gifts, or maybe I noticed I got into like this wine subscription that I was getting like once every 2 months, and all of a sudden I would get like 6 bottles of wine, and I only drink like 1 bottle of wine a month maybe. So I was like, what's going on here? Our very good friends at Rocket Money helped me out with this. We love this app.
It really does two incredibly valuable things. On the one hand, it will show you what subscriptions you have and will cancel ones that you don't want, and it just shows you where all of your money is going. Like those two things, those could be separate apps, and they've taken them and combined them. So I use this thing all the time, see where my money's going, make sure that I'm spending money on the right things, canceling subscriptions that I don't use. I really do use this thing on a daily basis.
I mean, during Christmas time and the holiday season, the notifications you get where it's like you spent 2,000% higher this week than last week. You're just like, man, I didn't think of it that way. And it also got me thinking, Trent, when you're a guy that goes to Maui by himself for the holidays, you save a lot of money on like holidays. Like all the little gifts you got to get. Like you don't go and see family right now, so you don't got to get like the cousins and people coming over houses. I got to get everyone something. You know what I mean? Everyone that's coming to my house, I get, whether it's a bottle of wine or something. I'm constantly spending right now.
It's true. This year
You're gone.
I'm just flying over all of
them. No one's getting anything from you. You're done.
No, they don't even get to see me.
They don't even get to see you. Like, think about how much money this guy's saving this year.
Spent it all on Maui.
It's unbelievable.
My favorite Rocket Money thing is that it gives me indisputable proof that I'm actually up gambling for the month. So whenever my fiance tries to be like, you made so much money on gambling, I'm like, actually, I'm up $96 for the month on gambling. So
that's nice. Yeah. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Fore. That's rocketmoney.com/Fore. rocketmoney.com/Fore. You sound like a tinkerer, which I like. We spoke with Padraig Harrington yesterday. He's a big tinkerer too. Are you pretty analytical when you're testing stuff, or you feel when you're kind of trying stuff out?
Both. I mean, I think there's a time and place for both things. Like, I feel like if you're talking like a driver, for example, I'll use TrackMan and stuff to dial in the launch and spin. But then the real test comes when I go play 18 holes with it. And can I hit a baby fade here when I need to? Can I hit a hard draw here on this hole when I need to? All those things, those are all feel based. And if you truly feel like, hey, with everything on the line, could I pull this shot off? That's a feel to me.
Favorite golf course on the PGA Tour?
Ooh, I mean, it's a little bit selfish, but I'd pick Quail Hollow. I loved it from the moment I stepped on it, and I've played really well there. I think I've had a second and like 2 other top 15s in the 3 years I've played it, and it's just from the moment I stepped on it, I loved it.
That's a cool spot. I feel like that's highly regarded among your coworkers out there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's going to be an elevated event this year too, which is awesome for me. But I think it's just one of the best golf courses we play. A great track.
Least favorite golf course on the PGA Tour?
Ooh, those ones you can always name off quicker. I feel like mine are all the short, kind of quirky golf courses. So like Colonial, Sony. Harbor Town, like all those are just. I feel like
the Kisner courses.
You like to rip dog, huh? You like to just let it fly a little bit.
Yeah, I think driver is one of the strengths of my game. I hit it far and straight, and those kind of take those out of my hands. And then when you look at iron play, I feel like I'm a great wedge player. and I'm a great like long iron player. And all those courses, I feel like take driver out of my hand, and then you're like right at the 150 plate hitting like a 9 or an 8 iron, and that's kind of the weakest part of my iron game. So it kind of like screws me on both ends. So I just try to avoid those if I can.
I wanted to add, you've been a pro for I think 5 or 6 years now, and you're having tremendous success. You've won a PGA Tour event. You're into all the elevated events. You're top 50 in the world. But there are other younger guys who are doing even more, right? Who are higher in the world rankings and who are winning at a higher clip. Is it hard for you to not compare yourself to those guys, or are those guys? Do you use those guys' success as a motivator?
Well, I mean, both. I definitely compare myself to them, and I definitely use it as a motivator. I mean, there's guys like I look at guys all the time that I played college golf with. Scotty and John Rahm are two perfect examples. Like I feel like we were much more equal back in college, and then now they're definitely a little bit ahead of me. And it's trying to figure out like what are they doing better? How did they make a jump that I haven't made? And just trying to get my game up there. But in the long view of things, like golf's all about just you getting better. You can't always just because you won it doesn't mean you're going to get it right. Like there's a process. You got to get better. It's hard to make a 10-stroke jump in a tournament. Like you're trying to get it one stroke at a time and see where you can kind of pick up little things here or there to get better. So that's kind of what I'm focused on, especially in these off seasons. Is for me, it's like I hit it far, but I'm not the farthest. So trying to get a little bit more distance, trying to hit my irons a little closer, those things I think will help me get a little bit better each round.
Yeah, it's interesting because Scotty this time last year hadn't won before, and then all of a sudden he's winning
exactly
4 tournaments in 6 and wins the Masters.
Right, we could be looking back on this in May, and you could have won 3 times.
Tony's the same way. Like struggled to win, and then something just clicked, and he got a little bit of confidence, and now he seems to be winning every time he tees up. So it's definitely out there. It's amazing how much just a little bit of confidence does for you in this game.
Why do you think Cameron Smith didn't yell Fore when you were at Southern Hills?
From what I saw a video. He did yell Fore. It was just he was into the wind, so I didn't hear it. But that was wild.
Did that hurt as bad as it looked like it hurt?
No. Got to be honest. No.
Just hit the right spot of your head or something? Or
yeah, it rattled me, and I had some ringing in my ears. But then, honestly, I had like the smallest bump and no real pain from it at all. So I don't know how I got lucky. I mean, there's a million places it could have hit me where it would have hurt way worse. So I'll take my luck and go.
Dude, we were playing out at Whisper Rock last weekend, and caddy Mikey out there, who's awesome. And on the first tee, they're telling a story about how a few weeks or a few months before, he got absolutely drilled by a hook tee shot from a different hole. And they're telling the story, and we're laughing. And then literally on the first green, a guy's chipping behind him, and our boy shanks one, and it just comes a missile right at Mikey. And he luckily ducked at the very last second. It hit the actual bag, but it was not 7 minutes after he told the story about how getting hit with a golf ball, someone shanks one and just a missile coming right at him, but luckily he missed it.
Yeah, those are the worst. I mean, getting hit by a golf ball doesn't feel good.
No, I've only been hit once. And it was off a bounce, and it was on the leg, and it did hurt, but it wasn't excruciating. You've been hit before, Dan?
I've been hit by my middle school golf team. We played almost exclusively par 3 courses, and they were. There was the tee would be right. These weren't, nothing special. Yeah. Some guy bladed a wedge that hit me right in the pectoral. But again, didn't really hurt that bad. I don't know.
If you could trade instantly your golf swing for someone else's golf swing in the world, who would that person be?
Rory. No questions asked. I mean, he can hit a golf ball unlike anyone else I've ever seen. Just higher, farther, straighter. It's incredible.
Do you remember the first time you played with him? Was that the guy who's wowed you the most?
Well, I mean, playing with Tiger was the most wow experience ever, no doubt. I mean, no one will ever rival that. But as far as potential to hit golf shots that no one else can hit, yeah, Rory's definitely leads that category by far.
Yeah, you ever try to copy anybody else? You ever watch anybody else and experiment by trying to do what somebody else does? Or
yeah, I watch a lot of. I mean, I'm kind of like a golf nerd. Even with equipment, with golf swings, everything. I look at a lot of other people's stuff and take what I can kind of use from it and see if it works for me or not. But there's a lot of people I study, basically all like the top 20 players in the world. I'll look at all their stuff all the time, seeing what they're doing. Maybe it's like, maybe it's even, I don't know a good example, but maybe it's one of the top players in the world who's going through a slump, and I'll try to figure out, like, for myself, like, what are they doing differently now than they were doing when they were playing really well, or vice versa. Maybe they're on a heater like Scotty, and you're trying to figure out what's clicking so well for him versus what he wasn't doing 2 years ago, you know?
For a guy like you who wasn't in the top 20 in the PIP, just how big was it to make the Tour Championship and to get, to get into those elevated events?
Yeah, it's huge. That's one of those things that's interesting. We're still trying to figure out exactly what it all means and how it all works. And I know this year is kind of like an in-between year where we're having the elevated events, and then they're trying to make some more changes for next season. So it's all interesting, but it's huge. Tour Championship gave me 2-year exemption on tour, rather than just one for keeping your card, which is pretty cool. And then get you into, I think, 3 of the majors, not the British, but then all the other invitationals, which is awesome. And it'll be interesting to see how that balance goes. For me personally, like, I'm trying to use a little bit of what happened my rookie year. When I made it to the Tour Championship, I went the next year and I played all the big events because I was in them all. And I ended up having a pretty bad year just because you're playing against the best fields on the toughest golf courses. And if you're not sharp, next thing you know, you've got too many missed cuts and you haven't made enough FedEx Cup points. So coming into this season, I mean, I feel like I'm a lot better golfer than I was 3 or 4 years ago when that was, but you're still keeping in mind with the schedule, like, just because I'm in all the big events, I still need to sprinkle in some of the smaller ones to be able to earn enough FedEx Cup points and stuff, because it seems like, although this year I was in the top 50 to be in all the big events next year, it seems like this next year is more important for the following year than last year was for this year, if that makes sense.
That's interesting what you say about playing against the weaker, like, so that's something that you can feel. It's like, okay, let's say you played at a 7, 7 out of 10. If you're playing in a better event, you can, like, that you'll finish. And how do I word this? It's you feel like you have to play better when you're playing against the best guys. That's actually like a real thing. It's not just like a luck situation.
100%. I feel like if you're going to win just about any week, right? Like, I feel like whether you win a small event or a big event, if you've played well enough to win, you've probably won whatever tournament you're playing in that week. But as far as if you're playing a little bit off, I feel like if you're playing a really big field with all the best, you're going to finish 18th, which might be like an 11th in a worse field, just because of how bunched everyone is with all those top guys up there. So at the end of the year, all those FedEx Cup points add up. And if you've only played the biggest events with all the best people, like, that's kind of one concern that I've brought up to the tour is playing these elevated events are great for world rankings because all the best are there. So you get inflated world ranking points. They're great for money because the money's double what you were making.
But the difference in the FedEx is not that big, is it?
It almost makes more sense to play the weaker events. You'll finish better on the FedEx Cup points because even if you're getting 50 more points, like, that doesn't add up to much when you break that down through a whole field versus getting 500 for playing a smaller event.
Huh. You ever get pissed off on the golf course? You ever break clubs or anything? You an angry guy out there or no?
I get pissed off, but I don't break clubs. I don't really throw clubs either. I just say some bad words. That'd be my go-to.
He doesn't have a club
That's
deal,
fine.
So he's got to be careful with his clubs. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. What about your relationship with your caddy? You guys ever get into it? You guys ever bicker, argue like brothers?
No, they're talking over some shots. We'll disagree, but I mean, we're both pretty low-key people, pretty easygoing. There's not too much that goes on. There was one time he came to me after a round and he was like, "I've never been pissed at you before, but this time I am pissed at you." And it was actually from a complete I'll go back. It was where was it? It was this year at WGC. Which one? The first playoff event, which would have been FedEx. We were playing and we were doing really well in the second round, and we ended up. I hit a great, like, 6-iron. We had like 5 holes to go. I hit a great 6-iron and it just didn't cover this bunker and it plugged in the lip. And I chipped it up, made a bogey. We went to the next hole and I hit a great shot, landed it right on our number again. and it like released through the green over the back into a dead spot, and I made another bogey. And we had just gone from being like 2 off the lead to now like we got a par in to make the cut because it was super bunched because it was like a wet bunch of rain. So the field was just super compact. And we got to the next tee and it was kind of like stormy and the wind was swirling and the wind was supposed to be, I forgot, the wind was supposed to be, let's say, in. And we get up to the tee and I'm feeling down. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, are we playing the wind in here? With maybe like a little bit of an attitude because I had just gone bogey when I thought I hit 2 perfect shots. And he was like, yeah, like obviously we're playing the wind in. And for some reason he took that like I was kind of making fun of him because he thought we had misjudged the wind on the first 2 holes. And I literally did not mean any like bad harm by it. I'm like, I'm feeling down. And if we're playing in, like it was one of those like dogleg holes where your line shifts like 20 yards if it's down or into the wind.
He thought you were being sassy.
He thought I was being a smart ass, and I was just asking him a real question to make sure we were doing the right thing. And after the round, he brought it up to me, but I was just honest with him. I'm like, look, there's probably a million other times you should be pissed at me. That's not one of them. Like I was truly just asking the question the way it could have been asked, but. Other than that time, no, we're both pretty low-key, pretty good.
Yeah, incredible. I love those dynamics out there. It's just fascinating to me because there's almost no comparable job, professional work relationship in the world to a player and a caddy.
No, the funniest ones between us are always like when I'm a little out of position and I want to go between like say 2 trees and he wants me to chip out. And I've just learned over time, like just being on tour, that like chipping out, making the bogey doesn't kill you. You can still make the cut, right? What kills you is like, say it's the second round and you're playing well and you're well inside the cut, but then you go for it, you hit the tree, it goes out of bounds, you make a triple, and now you're on the cut line. And it's like, that's what screws your tournament up, you know? So the 1-shot penalty doesn't kill you. So there'll always be those times where I'm like, I know I can pull this shot off 70% of the time. And he's like, it's just not worth it. And I'm looking at him like, if you really want me to lay this ball up, I'll lay it up. But I think I can pull it off. Those conversations are always the funniest.
You're like, level with me. Give it to me straight.
Yeah.
It's funny how it's never the caddy that's like, you know what? I think you got this shot through the trees and then over the branch and then under. It's never the caddy that thinks he's got the shot.
But that's kind of what I've told him. You know, it's like, I'm always going to think I can do everything on the golf course. You know, that's what I've practiced for. So I need him in those situations to be the clear-minded person and be like, look, you can still make a par if you hit a wedge shot on the green. Like, it's not the end of the world.
I've never heard the player being like, dude, no, I'm telling you, the play is I chip out here. I'm telling you, man. The caddy's
you
like,
never will hear that. If you ever get that on tape, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting look at, you know, you have to have that belief if you're the player, right? Otherwise, it's like, what are we? You're not going to get to the PGA Tour being the guy who doesn't think he can pull off the shot. So
yeah,
it makes sense to me. I like to ask young guys this question because they're young enough to remember. Is there a moment that you remember about your rookie year? You're kind of welcome to the PGA Tour moment. I don't know if it was, you know, a courtesy car or it was, you know, walking by someone in the locker room. Was there a moment where you said to yourself, like, holy shit, I'm living my dream right now?
I wouldn't say necessarily living my dream. There was one moment I remember my rookie year that wasn't necessarily a welcome to the tour moment, but it was more like realizing what's at stake, if that makes sense. It was Wells Fargo, my rookie year. I was playing great. It was the first time I had ever really been in contention at a PGA Tour event to win. And I remember I had a great Sunday. I finished like, I don't know, 3-4 holes ahead of the leaders because I was out before them. And I was the clubhouse leader. And I remember watching Jason Day was on 17, which is hard par 3 over the water. And the greens were like rock hard that day. And he hits this 6-iron or whatever it was that lands middle of the green. And it literally is going just straight in the water long. And I think we were tied at the time. So I'm like, if this ball goes in the water, I win. This thing like one hops like 2 feet short of the pin, nails the flagstick, and stops like 6 inches away for a tapping birdie.
Man.
So it's at least a 2-shot swing, maybe a 3-shot swing. So I'm like, wow, the tournament was just mine. I'm like, I'm going to make $1.3 million. And now he's clearly going to win because he just made a tap-in birdie. He's got all the momentum. And then on top of it, I'm sitting there in the clubhouse watching in the scoring area after. And of course, they get up to 18. Jason Day hits it on. He like lags it up. He's going to win the tournament. And then I think it was Nick Watney was one stroke behind me in the final group on 18. And he hit it to like back of the green. It was a front pin. He had like a 60-footer. And he hits this thing and it just triple breaks, drips in there right in the cup to tie me. And I'm like, I'm sitting there looking at the leaderboard. I'm like, that putt just cost me $400,000. I'm like, that's when I was kind of like, wow, there's a lot on the line for these final putts. But it was pretty cool. Pretty cool moment to just be there and like, I mean, I made like $800,000 that week. It's not the end of the world, but you're sitting there like,
wasn't that bad?
What could have been if all that didn't just transpire on the last 2 holes?
Well, it's great you're thinking about it because we're all thinking about it. I mean, that's the first thing people on golf Twitter are like, that putt, just because, you know, once it starts to narrow, you can actually tell the true dollar differences between this ball lipping in and that. So, yeah, there's a human element to it. Of course, you're like, oh, I wish that didn't go in, or I wish I made another one so I could make another $400,000.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just crazy how, you know, you could be in third and make $800,000 that week, or you could be 2 shots worse in T11th and you make $150,000 for the week. It's just crazy how big a difference a couple of shots makes, specifically when you're up near the top.
It's very cool. It's a cool thing to be doing. You're way better at this game than we are. I'll tell you that much. way, way better. When you getting going? When's the
tournament?
You got to be in Hawaii, right? Yeah. It's your first.
Oh,
no, you played it in 19.
Yeah, played it in 19. I don't think I did that well. So
that looks like a great week.
It's awesome, man.
It looks like a great week.
It's really fun. It's honestly one of the funnest golf courses we play. The only thing that sucks is it's one of the hardest walks you get all year, and it's right after you've taken all off season off, and then on top of it, they give you a cart up until Thursday. So you're carting around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday comes around, and it's just a brutal side hill, uphill walk, and you just feel miserable after. So,
do any hardos out there walk the whole week?
No one walks that whole week. I don't think you really can, because during the tournament, we'll get like 4 or 5 shuttle rides that are probably like a half mile each. So, I mean, without that, I don't think you could really walk the golf course.
Yeah, there's like a tunnel that goes to that par 5. It's like through a jungle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy walk, but a fun golf course.
Our boy Dewey, Kiz's caddy, that's where Dewey fell. He fell at that tournament hard.
I could see that, yeah.
Kiz tells us, he tells a story great where they're just walking, they look, and like Dewey's just not behind him, and he had just fallen down a hill, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? But they did say the walk is brutal up there.
It is.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate it. Good luck, obviously, going forward this entire year. Playing really well, 33rd in the world. Hopefully next time we have you on, you'll be, in the situation that Scotty Scheffler, like we talked about, turned into a year later.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I'd be able to make the Ryder Cup. That's a good goal for me this year.
You made 16 cuts in a row, so you got to keep that going.
Hey, you just jinxed it. I didn't even know that.
What do you mean?
Now you're screwed.
Yeah, that's tough.
You gotta be mentally tough. You gotta know. You gotta think. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That.
Come on,
you're good.
16 in a row.
I forgot. You're fine. My next tournament's Century, so there's no cut. I'm good.
Yeah, you're literally guaranteed to make it to 17.
You're good.
All right, Aaron, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for the time. Afterward, just if you could stick around for like 10 seconds, we got to upload all the footage. My producers make sure we say that so we don't lose anything. But good luck out there. We appreciate you. Thanks for the time.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.